right, welcome back to another episode of the Rondell Lane Podcast, and today we have a good friend. Now, I don't really know what to I don't know how to like introduce you as far as like what you do.
Yeah, because I do too much.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you take control of that. So
yeah. Well, my name is Tiffany Luard. I'm a producer. I'm a director. I'm a classically trained artist. I'm a classically trained actress and filmmaker, meaning that I went to a conservatory and trained for a certain amount of time in the classical structure of how to tell a story, how to conceptualize, market, produce, do legal contracts, how to do what you do when you go to Hollywood, right? It was the perfect world. And in a conservatory setting, you tend to train even more than a liberal arts. So that means that we had all of our liberal arts classes plus all of our arts classes, which essentially turns into we're in school from 8 until 10 p.m.
Wow.
Most days, all week. And then, and not like all day, because of course, like any college, we have a 9 to 11, we have a 1 to 3, we have longer classes. Our classes are usually 2 to 3 hours, and therefore we have a 6 to 9, not 6 to 10, 7 to 10 class areas. So that's why we end up in class all day. But then we also had to crew. So on top of our class, we had to crew in a very intensive program that really doesn't exist in the same format anymore, because it was before they had the U. I went to North Carolina School of the Arts. It's now considered North Carolina School of the Arts, and at the time that I went to it, it was one of the #1 conservatories for filmmaking against grad schools and undergrad. Because it was a conservatory program. Meant we went hands-on year 1. We started shooting digital year 1. We shot film 3 and 4. Difference between us and an NYU was that we had a budget for our projects. You didn't have to. It wasn't based on us being a trust fund baby,
Gotcha,
or
yeah.
having to go run out and beg money from a community as a student. So attractive, and so it kind of leveled the playing field, and it became very much more about the story.
how's all that
Transpire.
to where we are today? Like, what do you?
What do I do today?
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to school, and then I went to Hollywood. And when I went to Hollywood, I was a production manager, I was a coordinator, I was a PA, I was all kinds of levels. I eventually became a field producer, became a producer. I've worked in all kinds of mediums. So I've done commercials, I've done independent films, I've done scripted, I've done comedy shows, I've done live shows, I've done award shows, I've done podcasts, right? And so what I've done is I've learned classically how to tell a story. I've learned everything I can. I consider it mastered artist, right? So I became a mastered artist, and then I started to figure out, how do I want to give my art to the world? As an artist, we don't get into this because we think we're going to be rich or famous, because at the end of the day, it's an internal process of outpouring, right? And so as an artist, I had to start figuring out, well, how do we make money with this? And how do we keep making money with this, right? I'm Jamaican. I was supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer, an architect.
Oh, that's how,
that's
how
what
it
I mean?
works.
That's how it works in Jamaica. You know, if you're not doing that, then you better have a very good reason why you're not doing something else, right? Which is one of the reasons why, if you see a Jamaican outside of doctor, lawyer, lecturer, architect, they're usually really good at whatever they do, because they have a mastered sense of them already. So I had that culturally. Then I came back and I did that in school. And then I got out in the world and I was like, wait, there's people from everywhere. They're not all mastered. They're not all from this space, but yet they're working, right? So working became a different beast. Now I manage talent, I manage brands, I build, I help people with political profile or candidacies, I help speech, I might help a CEO figure out how to create a creative revenue build inside of their mapping. But at the same time, we might get back into telling stories and mastering that, and learning how to kind of get into ourselves. As artists, we have more access to internal monologue. So I find in a lot of trades, sometimes it's about being the creative thinker in something that's very right-brained. I've managed the Grasshopper Stadium. I've done, errands for furniture, right? And in those jobs, I was very much a regular worker, but then I start to get back into my art somehow. I start like in production, we manage people, right? So when you're moving a whole, stadium, you're actually still scheduling and managing the same way that you really would, except the cameras are gone, right? So as a producer, one of the hardest things is making other people understand what you do, because you literally know the law, you know the safety, you know the OSHA, you know the strategy, you know how to get from point beginning all the way to the end. In a creative project, the producer is actually the only person who stays with the project from the beginning to the end. Many people get that confused, especially in our creator sense now, because we have so many director, editor, hybrid predators, and because so many people are having to do so much to master the subject or get their work out, right? Get their message out. And we have, when in school, we call those auteurs. I come from a collaborative group that knows if we have the greatest mastered artists all contributing, you're going to get the best art. So I try to recreate that in anything that I'm doing. I try to do it the best. I try to do it the most mindful, right? We learn a lot of these words now because they're kind of culture, pop culture. But we want to be consistent, mindful, and impacting. And if you are going to, like you would say, change the weather, you have to get into how do you change the weather? Are you doing it for good? Are you doing it for bad? Are you doing it for strategy? Like all these things kind of get into the space. And when I realized, originally I was doing film because I was an actress, and one of my greatest allies got an Oscar in a way that, when I say allies, inspirations, that I admired her work as an actress, but the way that she had to get her Oscar in my head completely defined my femininity, my power, and my strength as an artist. Like, it took me off my grounding, and I was like, is this what I have to do as an actress, especially as a colored actress, in a very diverse world where the revenue is coming from so many different things? Like, it's not coming because you're the most talented. Sometimes it's coming because you're the person who the group loves. It's popularity. Sometimes it's because you are actually the best. And because you have these hybrids, right, on the market, it's like, well, how can you make yourself more value? I think whether you're, in the bank or in the McDonald's or on the biggest stage of the world, your goal is to add value as a human, and we tend to get away from that. And so, like, one of the reasons I went into art is because I was smart. I was a track star. I did so many things that people would say, you do so much. How do you do that? You can't do all that. You become a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I was like, no, I'm a master of all of this. And I'm going to decide when I do it. Now, the fact is you can't do everything. You have two hands, right? 24 hours in a day and certain things. But when you devote your focus to something, in my head, that should be a mastered sense. So I don't care if I'm cleaning this bathroom, it's about to be spick and span, like, the product people cleaned it for the commercial, right? And if I'm coming here and I'm going to change your world, then I want to leave on you whatever that change is. If I come into your business and our goal is to grow money, how can we grow money? Creative strategy comes in that. And sometimes we get so caught up in telling stories, telling our stories, getting into the narcissism of the art, right? And some people are so excited because they just got cameras, like there was a time when no one had Apple. I was a part of that group. And when everybody got Apple, we were all like, what are they doing? Letting everybody on the market? What is this? But of course, you see the growth of technology. You start to notice that everybody needs this. More people need to do this. More people need to master this. And I think as humans, we get into forgetting that if we, from the 1800s, knew certain things, we should not lose those things in evolution. We should become better. And I think as we get into this generation, that's what a lot of it's about. So as an artist, getting away from being in that 9-to-5 type of job allowed me to kind of be the human I wanted to be, and then create different levels of impact.
So, like, with you being classically trained, how do you feel about the new generation where you really got, like, content creators taking over?
Well, and I wouldn't say taking over. They're prevalent. They're around. It's just like any other industry. There's always some type of innovation to it. So the content creators are the innovation on the industry, the disruptors. It all goes along with all the society, conundrums that are kind of all over the place as well, right? So what do I think about them? I think they have their place. I think everybody has their place. I think there's enough room for everybody. That's a general thought, right? I think that there's a lot of content creators who, like, anytime there's innovation in a space, can make it unsafe. Just like the mastered artist can make it unsafe. The neuroticism can make it unsafe. The evil, the anger, the bad energy in the space, right, can make it unsafe. I think where the content creators miss the boat is learning how to collaborate, because there are so many auteurs that what we have are a lot of people competing each other in micro markets where they should be collaborating and building together. And their egos, because they are having to feel like they have to create this concept of themselves so that people believe in them. Right? You get into this balance of creating that concept but remaining a human, and then learning how to build as a group. And one thing I learned about Hollywood is it's not actually as small as it feels. It is small, right? But everybody knows everybody. And then also Hollywood is very generational. So you cannot conquer Hollywood without an army. And you can't conquer anything without your army. Right? Yeah. And I find that a lot of content creators move into this auteur spirit and they don't understand why they can't get to the next level, and it's usually because they can't build. right?
Yeah.
And that happens with content creators. That happens in, politics. It happens everywhere, right? So I think in our particular instance, the greatest thing that the content creators are proving is to the old school and to the old industry, right? How things can be broken. When I went into the film industry, being classically trained, we did strip boards and organization of production on paper still. When I would say things like, "Hey, let me put this on the website. We could use this group. Why don't we use Facebook to communicate?" They would look at me like I was crazy. And not just me, anybody of my age group who entered at that market. We were all like, "Hey, there's this great thing called a computer. Maybe you guys like to use it." And they're like, "No." Now, as I hated that at the time and thought they were crazy, I also love that now because there are things that I know about content creation that new content creators can't get to the root of because they don't understand the process. I think just even it's not our content creators, it's this generation, right? We have a loss of respect of wisdom because before being loyal to the wisdom put us in handcuffs, right? So it's like it's a natural rebel that we need because we can't evolve without it. They got us. They told us not to use the computers. We were like, all right, fine, we're not using computers. We're gonna use the paper. Like, yes, right? And we'll learn how to do it this way. But we really wanted to use the computers. So when the kids come and they're like, hey, we want to use the computers, we're like, yeah, listen, what else can you do? So you got that AI? Because they would never let us touch AI. We can't wait to get into that, right?
Yeah,
so it allows the industry to move. And I think art needs to be innovated. So like for me, we need them. We just need more people who also want to master, just like any other industry. The masters will outweigh the people who do it. There are people who sing songs all over the world. Some sing it on the Oscars and some sing it in their local community. It does not mean they're a better singer or a less than singer, right? It's just about where they having their power at. And I also think that we have gotten to a place where we think that we need a certain amount of power from a certain amount of validation. And if we would just stand in our grounding and move in our power and not in our ego, not in our narcissism, in our power, then we would go. We would take off the catapult. It's undeniable. You're an undisputed heavyweight champion only if you master that.
How do you feel about AI? Is it a threat? Is it the industry over? Like, what is it taking jobs?
It's going to do everything. It's a threat. It's a threat if you don't use it right. It's a threat if you don't master it. It kind of comes in like gateway. There are people who thought we would never use computers the way we do, period, right? And they stuck to their typewriters. They stuck to not getting a debit card. And in their 60s and 70s, they still had to figure out how to use that debit card. Right. Because the bank said, listen, we're just not going to do your whole non-debit card thing. There has to be a debit card to this account, right? So certain innovation becomes undeniable. Right? You don't know what that is stepping in, though, right? And so resistance is good because it makes you think. I think we don't think enough. We don't debate enough anymore. We don't get to the root of the problem. And actually, we get into allowing people to be in their bad way. I don't want to get in a bad way. I want to actually solve the problem, right? So I think AI kind of gives us the opportunity to solve that problems, solve new problems, create new problems as well, right? And so one of the things is, am I scared? No, I'm not scared. I don't think any of you should be scared of AI. Because AI needs...
Not even a little bit, though?
No, because AI needs humans. I think instead of being scared, we need to think about how we really want to use it. Instead of, again, fear, it's not the resistance, it's not the power, right? It's how do we positively impact? How do we keep people from using it evil? How do we protect ourselves? Because it's coming, it's being thrust.
Oh, it's
right?
Here. It's here.
It's being thrust.
Yeah.
Like I saw an innovative commercial the other day that was like, hey, yeah, go ahead and cheat and use this AI because it's going to come and you're going to be late if you don't, right? And it's like, maybe you'll be late. Maybe you'll be different. Maybe you'll be unplugged. Maybe you'll be in a different space. We can't really say where you'll be. But what I can say is if you don't understand it, you can't conquer it.
Right.
So resistance doesn't help.
Have you seen the, I saw on Instagram the other day where there's companies are going to be using AI, humans, to do their products. Like they were showing early samples of it.
Like how using the products, let me say.
Basically, they're replacing... So this is Google. I think they got a program called like Sora or something.
Sora.
Sora.
Sora,
so that's what it was made off of. And people are like kind of...
Which I want to say first. So how long has Sora been out?
I don't know.
Oh, years. So then the question is, why are we just now learning it? Because if it's going to be out and it's going to get thrust right now, the problem is how many people told other people to learn about AI, and how long have you had to learn AI, and are you behind by choice?
But I think for the common person, we really started hearing about AI like a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. Like for the average person.
Yes.
That's
yes.
not into
and
that
I would say Clubhouse. I would say during 2020 on Clubhouse when people were locked in, and then because we were in such this like ethereal like world and space, right? People were like, AI, people are doing weird stuff. There's all kinds of frauds out. I mean, you saw that circle game where it was like basically fraud your friends so that you can make money in the middle of the circle, right?
I got.
Right. I almost got and I started doing the math. I'm a mathematician when I want to be, right? The producer kicked in and was like, hey, hold on.
Here's the thing, though. So the guy that my sister was dating at the time, he got paid.
Right.
And so he told her about it.
Yeah.
It was like a 2 or 3 day difference from when he got in to when we got in. Mm-hmm. And it disappeared. Like, so we had a chart where we could see like
everybody in it. Uh-huh.
We were literally like
the
next group to get paid, and then
that's
the account just went away.
Well,
he was like, I told y'all. Yeah. Today I got in. So.
Well, no. The trick was how many other 5 people do you got to get to convince behind you, right? So the trail is you got to keep it going. That's when I realized the algorithm got to keep going. Yeah. Then this is not sustainable, right? Just like a regular project. I was like, wait, hold on. And so I did the math, and I said, I'm going to let you do it. My friend then, I said, let you do it. I'm going to tell you why I don't think you should. Because when I ran the math on it, there's a little risk. I don't like risk. You know what I mean? There's a little risk, but, play, because I'm not a good gambler. Like, show me, gamble for me.
There's risk in crypto.
I like safe risk. I like to do the risk analysis, right? And we want to have more here than here. Like, in an ideal world. Now, I'm not saying you don't take out on some deals like that, but then there have to be other mitigating factors that make you want to push that out there. Yeah. I don't like to just, because there's too many of us who have been mantraed with you got to take risk, spend money to make money. So we're going to sit here and convince ourselves, and this is what we call programming. This is why I couldn't go be a doctor, because programming is actually way more powerful than we realize. It's like the idea, my mother told me one time, first place is not that important, because I had to get first. I had to have A's. I would cry. If you gave me a B, any of my teachers who ever gave me a B, I went home crying. I used to argue. I used to argue for more points, but that's because you didn't come from a Jamaican household. You know what they say to you in Jamaica when you come home with a 95? What? Where's the rest of it?
Really?
Where's the rest of it?
That's
so
like
what
Chinese.
didn't you understand? Why? I'm like, and then of course you want to be American for a moment. You're like, it's only 5 points. Right. Okay, West Indians tell me, is it only 5 points? No, not to a Jamaican. And then they're going to come take your pencil and they're going to scratch it with the knife and sharpen it for you in front because you're not ghetto. You understand? So you understand what you miss on that test. And the test is over, so you're very upset, right? Mm-hmm. Mom, leave me alone. The test is over. I've already got the B or the F or the A or whatever it is, right? No, but you have to understand in a Jamaican household to go back outside or watch your TV or have your life back again. You have to understand. It's a very big, important part. They don't want you to just know the concept. Even multiple choice, they used to take it away. You get the guide and you go, they would take it away and make me tell them all of the answers and what all of the answers were for. Wow. Because they would tell me that in America, you're teaching you to be standardized. They're teaching you to make choices based on what they give you. But I need you to think.
Okay, so question. Do you have that same parenting?
Yes. Yes. My kids are homeschooled because the schools give up, like whatever happened in COVID really upset me, and it was happening before COVID. And I've started to feel like I need to police my administrators to do their job, and I have enough to do. I do so much, so to be available for so many other people, and then have to turn around and go to the school so that no one helps me do my job. And I remember having that conversation with somebody like, I can't call my parent of my colleague and say, hey, can you have a conversation with him because he's having a bad day today. Like, I've got to figure it out. And so accountability, I think, is lacking sometimes in our society currently. And there was a lot of answers like, well, all of them, we have no control. There was just very like, and I can't do anything about it. And again, coming from a Jamaican house, I don't understand that. I understand this is your classroom, you take control. I understand that they're not inspired, so inspire them. I understood that when I was in school, the hoodest, roughest guy would behave for his football coach because he put life in him, right? And so I understand in my head, you don't want to inspire the kids. You don't really, you're there for a check. It's a different thing. It's an exchange, right? Mm-hmm. So the love that you need to even be in place is missing. Whether we cultivated that or not, I would say there were some errors back in when we had the fellowship program, when we were graduating, and they said, oh, you got to work for 2 years just to get a degree. I think we were putting a patch on a bigger problem, right? Which is that we need people to love being teachers, but there was nothing there to make them want to love. But it's such an important job. So with that being said, yes, I took them home because I need them to learn. And I don't like when they were on COVID and just 5 computers up in my house looking at each other. For what? For what? You know what I mean? Like, and I wanted to take the break like everybody else, but I was working. Even though it was COVID, Hollywood was moving. I was working like 2 and 3 remote jobs. Anybody who was in a work mode right before COVID may have ended up with 2 or 3 jobs during COVID, never took a break, didn't get file unemployment and chill like everyone else, and really sat there on their computer and made stuff still happen. And I was expecting that type of energy from the kids as the Jamaican I am, of course. Like, what do you mean? We're not dead. Right? So everybody else is sitting still. What can you do to get ahead? Right? Yeah. So I try to inspire it, but they definitely are growing up in America, so there's always resistance, right? And I think it's balance. It's healthy balance, too. Like, I would say that my family or my Caribbean culture wouldn't have been as excited about my talking back, right? It was like, no, what do you think? Right. Me, I think I'm open more to be able to understand that the debate is great, right? And maybe I need to check myself, too, because as you get into elder, right, you tend to get into habits. And maybe your habits need to also be innovated, right? So I would say, you know, I'm definitely an innovative structure style, but do I expect certain things like a Jamaican? Yeah.
Okay. I did want to finish that point though about the AI.
Yeah.
So you know how you have a lot of people doing like product reviews.
Yeah.
So basically, what they're saying is Google has used all these thousands of hours of content creators. You know, from YouTube to train the AI. And so now they have
reviews.
AI people that look like me and you that will be reviewing products pretty soon. So
now when we get into, to me, that gets into where we want to manage AI, right? So I don't really think AI should review products. Now, if we want to call it what it is AI taking an analysis of what they're seeing others say online and using that to corral? Then maybe, because are we going to review the products? No, we don't complain unless we think we're going to get something for the complaint most times. We don't normally leave a positive review. How many of your friends have actually told you what you did good today? It tends to be certain people who put that light because they choose, right? So I would say, maybe we haven't reviewed products enough to take bad products off the line. Maybe if we had those reviews, right, maybe then Tiffany wouldn't waste her money on product B and neither would Rondell, and we just go ahead to product C because we're having more responsible reviews. Now, where we get into taking the human out of the place, I don't think it was more of like, do we need to be responsible about our reviews? Is that something we need to review directly? And there's parts of me that says it can't be real without a few human reviews. Yeah. So then I would then think of checks and balances. I start getting into systems, and then I'm like, okay, so I think the AI review goes here and the human review goes here. Now we got to log of both because the AI review is relevant. It's taking from data that is coming off of reviews and online comments and people's sarcasm online, right? And some people didn't, half the time the product is not working. It's sometimes user error. I know that from being a process tech, person, right? So being a person who had to give troubleshooting advice on the phone, I know most of the times it's not me or the product, it's you not understanding how to use the product. But again, our accountability and our ego is so large, right? So I think the reason we're scared is because our ego is large as a society. We're like, this AI is going to come take over, and how can it be more important than us? But at the same time, we're half lazy. Half of the people who are most worried are the ones who sit on a solitaire all day while they're supposed to be doing their work, and they're not thinking of how to add value. I think the scare and the fear comes in where people who don't want to contribute. And I think the scary part is, I think we're going to get to a place where you don't got to contribute. Just be there. But it's not that the majority won't know that you lack the desire to be a better or great human and contribute, right? Yeah. So same thing, I have multiple kids in my house. They'll tell me I don't want to clean up the house. That's not my mess. I will ask them, was the food mine that I cooked today? Because I forgot to eat. Was that mess that I wiped up under their seat mine? No, it's not. I don't care whose mess it is, right? A lot of parents get into that. They're used to saying, we don't care whose mess it is, clean it up, right? But sometimes we don't get into the extra verbiage, right? Which is like, we're here together. Everybody's on the team. This is your part. If you don't want to do anything outside in that cold ass with the cold outside with the winter, right? It's cold out there. There are nothing on that tree. You can go live under that tree right there. You will not have to clean it. You will not have to sleep there, but there is no TV out there under that tree. Do you want to stay under the tree? I could pitch you a nice tent. You will not have to do anything. When I break it down that hard, somebody was like, oh, that's so harsh. This is the Jamaican in me, using my American voice, right? Sounds harsh, but it's real, because at the end of the day, right, wait, I don't have to do anything, but I'll be outside, is really the reality. If you don't do anything, if you don't learn to contribute as a child, and you feel like not being that full of as an adult, then when you get there, do you like to be told what to do? No, because you don't follow these instructions anyway, most kids, right? Yeah. So if you don't like to be told what to do, and you don't want to follow instructions, and you don't want to do anything, where do you end up, Rondell? Let me ask you.
On the street. But I want to play devil's advocate about that, though. Because it doesn't mean I'm not responsible. So
no, it doesn't mean responsible.
I'm going to just take it for like me and my sister, for example. Like, if I was growing up and she made a mess and I was told to clean it up, that's going to make me resent her. Because what if I did all my chores?
Well, sometimes she got to clean yours up, too. It's
what if she doesn't, though?
But no, see, no, I don't play that. I don't play the
like, what if I do I do what I'm supposed to do?
I'm watching.
I'm going to get mad at her.
Oh, no. If you've done everything you're supposed to do and we have one problem in the house, then I feel like you deal with the problem. But usually it's not one problem. It's that we were playing.
Gotcha.
Right? Or I was playing first, and I came over and joined the activity, so now I don't want to clean it up because it wasn't my idea to pull it out, right? Because, because we finesse. We, even as children, we're finessing. I got you. So, no, I am responsible in that capacity. I don't want to breed resentment in my kids, right? But I breed togetherness, and I do breed getting over yourself.
That makes
because
sense.
We don't like to get over ourselves even as an adult. I don't like to get over myself sometimes. I know it. But I'm more honest about it than a lot of my friends would be, mainly because of my access to my art monologues and my inner monologue and knowing the power, right? But I'm aware, right, that I don't want to get over myself. That's half the battle. And half of our adult selves don't want to get into that. We want to pretend that it's normalcy or that it's a way or the way, as opposed to that it's our way, right? And that our way may need, and that's why we sometimes look like we're not consistent, or we're like, what do you, the hypocrite, because our way changes based on all the parameters. Everything is actually mitigating and based on the actual circumstance, right? So it's being responsible holistically in all of the hybrids, right, to kind of meld it together. Because, no, I think I have to clean up people's mess at work. How many times have I had to do that? How many times have I had to finish my work or my project of the kid who didn't feel like doing the work, but I still want an A?
I hated that.
I hated that. But guess what I learned? I'm going to get an A regardless. And guess what it also made me learn? In the real workforce, aren't you beside some of those people?
True.
And if I waste time focusing on them and getting all like, oh, they didn't do their work, I am not going to get the gold. I'm going to be who I am regardless, is what you learn, right? And I want to stand for something. So it's also about creating the drive, right? Because it's the drive. So if you just have to clean up behind people and you don't have no drive, there's no reason why we're even doing, like, there's no method to the madness. There has to be a method to the madness. However, half of us are running around without methods and strategy and just being and expecting people to just like, here, I sloshed it on you, right? Mm-hmm. And this is how I am. It's what I do. I'm Jamaican. I'm late. It's a common thing, right?
I didn't know that.
You don't know? It's not.
I thought that was black people.
It's like, it is. It's a Jamaican and a black people thing. Jamaicans are, you know what makes Jamaicans late funny? Because they are usually arrogantly late. Because like black people in America would normally say, I'm so sorry. They start the meeting like this. I'm so sorry to come in. I took a class one time from a very established speaker, and they told me you don't start a meeting with an apology even if you are late.
Oh, really?
I thought they were crazy. Now, they're very pro-thinking and, like, how to control your space type of thinker, right? And I think, like everything, sometimes that's really powerful, and maybe sometimes it wouldn't be. You got to read the human in the room, because I think there's a little bit of energy of being honest to how that person feels and taking in their energy. That comes in my artist. I'm going to feel you. So I can't get my jock off on you and make it a joke if it's not funny to you. It's if you're not laughing, right? So, but I would say that Jamaicans usually would come in the room and be like, what your face look like that for? I'm here. Well, of course I got here. Of course I'm late. I'm so sorry I've kept you waiting. They come in with a more of a, we tend to come in after being beaten mentally, emotionally in ourselves. And we come in and we're like, because we coming in with anxiety. I'm so sorry I'm late. How does that look when you walk in the room? Looks like you're all over the place. Yeah. Of course you're all over the place. You don't have everything together. You're not okay. But if I walk in and I say, Thank you for having me today. So where should we start? You kind of feel like, well, okay, they're ready to move.
Yeah.
They're ready. They were late, but they're ready to get straight to work.
Yeah.
Right? And now that late is on the back of it. But if I come into the space, and this is why they told me you don't do it, and I come in and I say, I'm sorry I was late. I've started the position where I've done this to you. I've shrunken myself. And you start to feel like this. You're like, yeah, you're late. I told you to be here on time. But how are we now going to do work as equals if I've already created a space where you're looking down on me?
That's interesting. That's interesting.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God. And the reason they were giving it to us because it was for women at the time. And women tend to apologize often. There's also an experiment that you take a man and a girl, baby, children, I think they were 6th to 8th grade age, and they give them a project that's impossible. And they say, do it in this impossible time period. And they come back and then they say, how have you done? The girls always go, well, I could have, if I just had more time, I could have just fixed it. Honestly, the experiment wasn't as, whatever. And you know what the guys tend to say?
What?
I did the best I can under the circumstances I did. I did great with the job that you gave me. With with what you gave me right there, killed it.
See, people, men and women are not the same.
Okay, killed it.
Don't let them tell you that.
So when I heard that, I was like, but because the nurturer in us wants to connect immediately and wants to go, oh, I'm so sorry. But sometimes saying sorry makes you feel.
I wonder how that test would stand today, though. Because I think women today.
You think we would get a better grade, right?
Yeah.
I think we would too because I think we have evolved. I think we would at least get a 50% of women be like, yo, I'm fly.
Yeah.
But then also people would say, well, that's where our masculinity and femininity are misplaced. Is it? Is it balanced? Is it misplaced? Is it reactive to what is in the space? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because there are places where you're going to feel very feminine and very masculine depending on what energy is around you. It's not even you, right? So there's a lot with that, but yeah.
I think most women are masculine now, though. It's kind of crazy because it's like, well,
why do you think they're masculine?
I'll say this from what I see online and a little bit in real life. Yeah. It's just like women aren't what I saw growing up. They act like dudes.
When you say that, what makes them act like dudes? What is the visual or the action that makes you feel misogyn?
They are like they're aggressive. They're aggressive. That a lot of them won't listen. Or they take things like even saying like listen or let a man like lead. That's almost like offensive. It's like you're saying be a slave. It's like no, I'm not saying be a slave.
They're sensitive.
Yeah.
They're sensitive to certain things.
Yeah.
What would create that sensitivity?
I don't know.
Now I'm gonna speak for the women in the room. Look, we're about to have a man and woman debate. We're supposed to be doing an interview, but
this is what my podcast. It goes in curves.
Look, we're gonna curve right here because now all the men and women watching are gonna be like, because what I'll say is, there's a certain amount of parameters and predicament that would create that, right? And we've seen we're not gonna go into the little TikTok videos and the back and forth of the rendition of the whatever, but if I'm in a house and the male has maybe even been mentally beaten to a place where they feel like their hands are behind their back. This can come from a variety of things. Doesn't mean you don't have a degree, doesn't mean you're an ex-criminal, doesn't mean you're a prisoner. You could have just graduated because they all lied to us. How many people you graduated thought if you graduate, everything would be okay? Isn't that what they said? You graduate, everything would be okay. So how many people graduate, everything was not okay, you still had to figure it out, right? So let's just say a college graduate man, because it's very easy for us to think dilapidated. So let's just think college graduation man. He has a degree in, finance, accounting, something with math. He comes out on the market and he works in a corporate place where to keep his job, he has to kiss his boss's, what. And now he needs to make more money because his family has expanded. And his wife goes, because the lioness in us. Right? That's why they could take our men away in the 80s and we could still function. That's why they say you can't raise men, but some men were raised by a single house family, okay? And are really great men, right? So some part of us goes as the mother instinct. We've got to protect, we've got to nurture. You come home, I say, we need more money. The house has expanded. You go, that jerk is not giving me more money. Men tend to feel very defeated when they can't provide.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So now they can't provide. They go home. What do men tend to do? Men tend to sit at home, get depressed. They might play the video game. They might zone out. They have a zone out. Whatever that zone out is, they're gone. They went straight to it because you said some junk about money. All right? Now, the woman is sitting there going, her anxiety is like, there's something about money. I got to do something about money. The money's, I don't care if I got to go out here and clean the floor. I don't care if I got to take it out of that person's bag. I don't care if I got to go. I'm going to go out right now, woman of this generation, and get that money. And while you're sitting there zoned out, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to say, see, I told you we could get the money. This is how I got it. Now, God bless, because some women come in, it might be one whole list, because some women don't care what they got to do to get it, really, right? Some women will come and look in your face and say, I slept with that man over there because he gave me the money. And now there's a fight because you're being disrespectful. And you are. Because as his woman, you're being disrespectful.
Because they'll do anything to get this. Like,
you're triggering now. Like, you can't be mad if it got domestic after that, because you're pushing people into a box. Like, we act like we don't know we're pushing people beyond their limits, right? So we got to get better at being aware and responsible about that. Because I don't really want to push you. The only reason I would want to push you to your limit is because you were trying to murder me, maybe. That might be it for me. Yeah. Everyone has their different personal, right? But I'm Jamaican and I'm fast, I'm slossy with my words, and I might say something that offends you, right? And at the same time, if I realize I offended you and it's not my interest to offend you, I may say sorry. You may not take that as sorry because I've offended you so deeply.
Right. Depends on what it is.
It depends on what it is. So we got to get better about feeling each other, right? But at the end of the day, like, women in too many places have seen their friends, their sisters, their aunties, their cousins, their mamas pick up that weight where they want the man to save them and protect them. Now, I do believe that we all owe a certain entity some lawsuits, because specifically in our demographic, I do think that we have a few different things that cause us to be this way and be dysfunctional within each other. I do think some of that is programming, right? So I think we're waiting on Prince to come save us. Damsel in distress. We have damsel in distress. We have people who are not waiting on Prince, and then we have people waiting on the Prince. Did we ever teach the guy to be the Prince? No, we taught him to be a superhero. We taught him to kick ass. We taught him to roar. We taught him to embrace his masculinity that sometimes is very short and can be like the counter. It'd be very masculine, so masculine and it's feminine. You know what I'm saying? And so again, that balance, right? So we didn't train the Prince. We didn't tell him it was cool to be a prince.
That's true.
We told him it was cool to be a superhero.
I saw something like that.
When we saved the girl in the Marvel. Why did we save the girl? Because she's the fucking cute antidote on the side of the road. Not because she is my life partner that built me and made me a Superman.
That's true. I saw some content about that. It was like, you look at the 90s, 80s and 90s. Yeah. All the Disney movies teach women, like, you're looking for.
Even not the Disney, and and we could blame Disney because the light at the end of the yellow brick road and the tunnel, and you know what I mean. We could
all the Disney princesses are getting saved,
and we can't even say we're naive, because if we look at some of the 1960s German writers, they said that they would cripple America in the 1960s from Walt Disney selling us an illusion because we would become out of touch of reality.
Never heard of
now, is it possible that we're out of touch of reality?
I think so.
And yet we like watching reality TV. But reality TV is not really a reality.
Right.
So what do we like watching? We like watching people fight. I could have made some of the most dark energy shows and made a lot of money a long time ago. I have had opportunity, access, mental inspiration, and that's what makes me a mastered artist, because I care and I don't want to hurt people. And so even though it might have made me money, I used to manage a club. And I could have put those girls on camera like Bad Girls years ago. Some of them begged me to. They were ready. They wanted to be. And I couldn't do that to them because I know what destruction actually happens to them, really.
Somebody in Hollywood with morals, you're in the wrong place.
Nah, everybody in Hollywood. No, not everybody. It's just a lie. A lot of them don't, but there are a lot of people who want to be light. And if we weren't there, the balance wouldn't even be present, because if we weren't there, then what would happen is we would just be creating programming and destruction, and there would be more, and there would be people who capitalized off not being sheep inside the game, right? There's a lot of lights. Some of them are unempowered. Some of them are empowered. Some have to watch how they move, because the world is there's again that balance. There's so much good. There's so much evil, right? Mm-hmm. I think Hollywood gets a bad rap. one of the things that I thought was interesting when I first went to Hollywood is, especially in Black Hollywood, a lot of them were in church. And I thought that was crazy when I first got there, because I come from Southern North Carolina, and of course church is everywhere. But I expected it to be far away in Hollywood. And you'd not be surprised about how many people are actually even getting jobs in places like church, because they're present. And they're people who want to stay close to God that are in Hollywood, right? But maybe like saying it for the brand might weaken the strategy. And why is that? Because America as a whole would rather see people fighting in reality.
Right.
Reality.
Right.
Right? And it's controlled, manipulated, augmented. Like we started getting into words, right? Even with reality, we used to take psychological exams. And I thought that was crazy. I just thought we were checking people if they were crazy. We were actually capturing how they would feel once they went from being famous to not being famous. And it happens overnight. So you're such and such. You're on the race car show. You walk into Burger King. They're like, Rhonda, free burger today. The show goes off. Next week, you walk into the burger thing, and they're like, yo, what do you want? And you're like, yo, I'm Rondell. Don't you remember me?
I don't think I would care. But.
You wouldn't. Yes, you do.
I mean, I might. I'm just saying, I don't think I would.
I would say everybody cares to a certain degree. Or let me not say cares, feels it.
Yeah, I might
and how you react to that feeling was actually what we were measuring. Do you get what I'm saying? Because you might be a better candidate for our show because you're so well balanced mentally, socially, emotionally, strength and strong that you're not rooted in people's reaction and opinion of you. But then we might find another candidate who, if we give them too much light and they lose it, like think about somebody's like the only time they've been accepted. Somebody who's the only time they've been accepted, and then you take away the acceptance, could make them suicidal.
I can see that, but I would also look at it like if I finally started to feel accepted because I'm in Hollywood, I'm still not really accepted.
Right. Well, you're not even in Hollywood when we're talking about those people we're measuring. We are not measuring Beyonce. We're not psychologically evaluating Beyonce. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. We're not even like Love and Hip Hop. They were already in the world. We don't need to psychologically evaluate people who exist and have their own stories. The people we're talking about are such and such's TV show on their job. On their show, we're in like a Lizard Lake Towing. So no one knew where Lizard Lake Towing was before it started. It was a brand new family. They had never been on TV before. That is the type of contendant. And I don't even know if we did psychological by then because it was something that started at the beginning of reality. But a candidate like them would be the one that we're testing the swamp guys down in, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like people who were giving them a show.
Gotcha. Okay. So, with you being in Hollywood,
Hollywood and all over, I'm an international artist.
I'm sorry. Okay. My bad.
Because I represent all my people when I walk in the room. Like Maya Angelou, they come with me.
My bad.
Yeah.
International in Hollywood. Uh-huh. But it was just kind of...
In North Carolina. I'm loyal to North Carolina. Bring a lot of work to North Carolina. Go ahead.
How do you feel about current Hollywood and movies? Do you think the movies hit now, or was it better in the 80s and 90s?
They both have their place. You're talking to somebody who studied film since Charlie Chaplin all the way down to fix your moving screen from silence, you know? So
you're going too deep.
They all got their place. Now, if you're saying which one does Tiffany like better?
Movies that come out today versus older movies, which would you prefer?
I like them both for different reasons. I like the technology and the advancements and the, like, you know, back in the day I could tell that I didn't like the art department. I could tell that cut wasn't good enough and we should have more gore. You know, like if I'm watching an It or
you
like,
didn't see that in the moment though.
Yes, I did. I was watching. Yes,
in the moment. Yeah, the little puppets look real. Like now, it don't look real.
No. Well, now, maybe now.
It's because we've
maybe it's now too. But I could see it before then because I used to watch Frames back then. So you got to remember. So when I was 17 and 18, I was classically trained actress. I went places like the Globe. By the time I went to 18, 19, I was already studying frames. So for a very early time, and I say that, but I mean, even from high school, before I went to the conservatory, I did the football games. I shot those. I was out there shooting the football games, running the track meets, the stats for the basketball. You get what I'm saying? Like, so I was at the International Club. I was at SACME. I was at, DECA. I was everywhere. You get what I'm saying? So I could take in so much information that I saw things like that. And so I would see the shot not match and not know what that was though, because I didn't have the word to say that, hey, that crossed the line or that did, but I would feel it, I would notice it because I'm a detailed oriented. But irregardless, like I think the movies of today have a lot more excitement, a lot more effect, a lot more impact, a lot more, like you would say, pizzazz. I think where it fails is, again, we're getting away from great stories.
That's what I was about to say.
And getting away. Yeah, stories are still trash. And I ain't gonna say stories are trash because, again, back then we had planned programming. There was the same 10 movies, right, that we're gonna watch. Everybody's gonna take it in and have an opinion on. Now we have everyone programming. We don't know if you're watching YouTube. Some of you have not watched movies in years. Some of you are still catching your news on TikTok. You don't even verify it, right? Because people get their content in a weird way, right? Like some people want to believe lies. And like even when you tell them it's a lie, you validate it's a lie. Like think about when we were in school and we had to validate our work. And if it didn't come from a verifiable resource. Some people don't know what verifiable resources are now, right? So it creates a little more creativity, right? In the stories, like people are reaching, like I would say they're pushing stories somewhere. But when you get into that whole idea of the nurturing and the archetypes and knowing how to tell a story and knowing how to influence your audience, and again, that goes back into mastering. So we would say that why was it more mastered back then? Because there were less people allowed in and they had to master to be present. What's happening to the stories now? We got a whole lot of people that got tools in their hands. They can get to distribution and you might click on it. Yeah. And now they get another deal. Like I feel like we should be more responsible with what we click. We tend to be like, well, let's just watch it. It's there. But we need to understand that those are the clicks that keep people working. If all of my friends knew how much I need them to support, like I didn't know, maybe you didn't either, when I put it out there, then maybe they would have supported it far harder. But thank God there's the rest of the world, right? Because the first year we put out, I didn't know, maybe you didn't either, I think maybe 10, 20 of my friends maybe said, good job, Tiff. I love that series. I'm going to
Friends never support, though.
Right?
That's like with
but
business.
3 million other strangers thought that was a really good important. And then, of course, friends, colleagues, people come back and they're like, oh, well, now that the show's getting attention, we see
That's
it.
when they come.
But we really need you to see it for people who have value before.
It never works that way.
And it never works that way, but it needs to. And if it did, like if we were responsible about what we clicked on, right, then we wouldn't be giving ratings to somebody who doesn't. If you don't want to see it, don't click on it. Right? But we can't help it. Our devil, that junk look good. That look like some drama. Let me get it, you know? So.
Is Hollywood out of ideas? Because
no.
It looks like they're remaking.
Hollywood's in control.
It looks like they were remaking everything from like the past. Like
they're in control. Why would they do that? Because half of the kids don't even know who Tupac is. They can.
But I'm saying, like.
Why would they do that?
Why not just write original movies?
Because they know that the numbers work. Because they've already tested
But a lot of these movies are bombing.
Are they? Depends on how they bomb.
That's what
bombing in the box office. Bombing in the box office. Their money's not in the box office anymore. Their money's in streaming. Are we looking at the right lines? We're not even looking at the right lines.
Okay, well, why lose
back
money putting
in
it in the
1980s, we made money off of putting toys in McDonald's, making sure you bought the shirts, making sure we had the sleepover bags. You knew you had to go to a sleepover. You had to go get your supersonic bag. Yeah. Like, we made money even different in monies back then. Right? So movies, the business of movies has changed. I wouldn't say that everyone's ready to tell all of the content creators why. And the reason is because they're not even sure. Why are they remaking movies? Because they can. To answer that question, because they can. Because you'll watch it again. Because they know you'll click. Because they know the story works. Because they want to see maybe even if the story works. We don't know what purpose. Everyone has a different strategy, right? It's just like I hear people say they put their stuff in when I'm mentoring my kids or my coming up artists, and they say, hey, I'm putting the stuff in the festival, but what festival are you putting it in though? There's a strategy for that. Mm-hmm. And see, we don't get into strategies because we're comfortable letting it happen for us. We all want to show up and wake up and the world is just perfect for us, because that maybe our programming, right? But there's a strong sense of just, man, can't it just be perfect? And I wake up and everybody's nice and everything goes my way, right? And not a lot of us know how to make it go our way or do the work to get to our way.
Yes. All right. Before we get out of here, I like to just kind of ask questions to get to know my guest. So first, I'm gonna say since we're early into 2025, did you have any 2024 goals that you set at the beginning of that year?
No.
You didn't.
20 resolutions have changed for me. I used to do a resolution at the beginning of the new year. I've always been a person who needs to be outside of boxes, and for me, resolutions are important almost monthly. Checking in and being aware of self is important monthly. So when you say like an annual goal, of course we have annual visions, right? And strategies and goals, but I would really say that I didn't have a main goal. The main drive was be forward with my art.
Okay.
Right? So it was like just push forward. Not really a resolution, but a goal.
Yeah, that's what I don't do resolutions anymore. I set goals. But do you feel like you achieved your goal?
No, not this year. But I mean, anybody in my position would not have. So my mother, we were starting the goal. We were moving really fast. Me and one of my clients, we have a great show called I Didn't Know, Maybe You Didn't Either. It's on iHeart and The Black Effect. And you can find it on Apple and all your places you wear podcasts, right? But we were pushing our podcast. Our podcast is a curriculum. It's actually a visual series. It's in an audio space very heavily right now, and so we want to convert that. And so we were working on a lot of things with that, and we were also working on just being more prevalent to the market. I had taken kind of like a 10-year hiatus. And I say hiatus because I was still working, but I wasn't working in my full self because my mother was sick. And so I was kind of taking like this 10-year period to be a daughter, because I feel like you have to be a daughter first before you could do anything else. And you have one time, you have one mom. No one will ever replace that. And I knew the value of that. I said that before. People have heard me say that before. When I would take career suicide and leave LA and come back to North Carolina, what was I thinking? And I thought, it's cool. I can only be a daughter once. And I would just look at them that way. Now that I've lost my mother before the age of 40, I'm so grateful that I took that time. Right? And at the same time, there's never enough time. There's never the perfect time. It's never all of the times you want, right? But if I had stayed in Hollywood, I would be rich right now. But I would be full of regret. And instead of taking this year to heal, I would have taken maybe 2 years to figure out what my purpose was, because I had betrayed in my heart, my family. So, and a lot of people wouldn't have been as loyal, like as family be family. So like it's not like you came back and everything was roses and bubbles. Like you have to like address your PTSD, especially when people are transitioning. I find that you kind of get into some of those darker spirits, those darker holes, those darker traumas that you've shared in your past, and you heal them, right? And so I came, even when I came back, if I was supposed to come back for Christmas, the time, and my mother was coming out of a second surgery, but it was a routine at this point because we had already done the first one. And if I hadn't got on the plane, something told me if I got on the plane, I was going to be stuck in North Carolina again. And I remember I looked over at my partner and my kids, and I was like, I'm not going. I'm getting off the plane right now. Like, I literally almost had, like, a panic attack. I could feel it. I was like, I'm getting stuck. I know. And they were like, just relax. It's 2 weeks. We're coming right back. We had just moved back to LA. I was just going back to my career. And because I realized my mom was sick and that I needed even more money to do her medical. Like, I wanted her medical in a certain way. I wanted certain things. I needed access to certain things. And so I was like, I'll go back to work and I'll bring her with me and it'll be fine. And so I started that process, came back, and the surgery was supposed to make her more flexible. So the goal was to get a jump start. She comes back, I go back, right. When I came back, I found my mother lifeless, listless in a chair. And if I didn't come back, I'm pretty sure my mom would have died that day. She was in the middle of a brain hemorrhage. And the hospital was ignoring her because she was also a Parkinson's patient. And so they said when a Parkinson's patient's in jail, they get more lethargic. Not jail, in the hospital. They get more lethargic over time. And they told me this was her lethargic behavior. And I said, no, she was walking yesterday. I want you to run her head now. And I wonder if I didn't get on the plane, would I have been saying bye to my mom at that moment? And I came back and I felt like I brought her back to life. I feel like when people are sick, it's your energy, it's your love. It's like, we see the kiss in the movie. Right. And going back to that those Disney lies. Right. But I think that's a real one. I think that's a metaphor that we don't understand unless you've ever done it. And I know that sitting in the room with my mother, I sat there every day through Christmas, that holiday. It was right before COVID in 2019. I had 3 jobs in LA to go back to. And I just sat there. And then COVID hit. And I was like, well, I got to get back now because we know Hollywood's not closing. And then they called and said Hollywood was closed. And I said, what? We're closed? So I'm supposed to be here. Had I stayed, not only would she might not have been here, but I would have came back to nothing. Not even my mother. And I sat still for a second again, and I said, okay, I'm here. And honestly, her death is still really pretty much, I feel, a subsequent of all of that trauma that happened with those surgeries and her life and capacity thereafter. So the crappiest part about it is like medical apartheid. So that's something we get into on the series, right? So we're getting into that in the series this year. I think one of the greatest things, we're in season 4 this year. We're expanding. We're going all year. And this is for I Didn't Know. I do other things, but I'm really proud of I Didn't Know because it's something where I feel like we're helping people with stuff they didn't know and opening brains. And I love doing that. And Dot and I have gone over the season, and we felt like season 1, we thought it was scary for people because it was scary. We had buck breaking, we had stuff, and we have mentors, we have brand handlers, we have sponsors, and we kept it safe for season 2 and 3, very much so, into what we felt like people felt like, because people want to feel soft, they want to feel nice, we don't want to shock them too much. And this year we're really looking forward to going back into ourselves and being our artist and creating that emotional change, right? And so when we sit here and we're looking at stuff, one of the things is medical apartheid, and my mother, I find, was a victim of medical apartheid, and I needed to understand it. Seeing her die early, everyone in my family had lived to 100, so my mother being in her 60s, leaving us, feels 40 years too early. It was not even something I expected. I used to tell even my friends at school, our family lives forever. I know my mom's going to live to about 80 at least, because everyone makes it at least there, and she was 20 years early. And she's, in my head, suffered a lot the last 15 years, but she had spent her whole life helping people, at least what I had seen of her life, or my eyes were open. Yeah. She was helping people. And even when I go to her funeral or talk to people who have her passing, she was helping people from Air Jamaica. She was helping people from her politics. She was helping people. She was a labor right. The Civil War that you saw on the Bob Marley, she lived that. And so people like Norman Malley were friends. People like P.J. Patterson were colleagues or friends and allies, and they did the work together to want to save. And so she was just really much a 1970s, like, change the world type of energy. And when she got to the U.S., there was this whole racism in life, and we came from very well family in Jamaica, and so the idea of classism we understood, but racism was hard for her. And the South was hard for her, and staying in her place was hard for her, and she defied all of that. And the one thing we miss coming in, I'm going to get emotional, the one thing we miss coming into the country as immigrants are all the systems. So, like with I Didn't Know, maybe in either African, Caribbean culture predominant, there's a lot of separation. And the separation is Black Americans are different because they're stupid. That's the general consensus. Right? And that comes from a lot of places. I mean, it even comes from immigration saying stay away from Black Americans, right? And you're going into the country and you think, these people should have the keys, they wouldn't tell us wrong, Right. But where immigrants fail all the time is not understanding the systems. And so my mother went to get medical treatment, and they told her she was a great candidate for something she was definitely not a candidate for, but she was on Medicaid. And she had just entered Medicaid. She had had insurance all her life. And then she got United Healthcare Medicaid, and there's some stuff with that, but like learning even which Medicare to get, right? I know now, in my 30s, just like I told them the system is broken, maybe we need to fix it before I turn 60, because I don't want to fall into it, right? But you're a lab rat, or you're underserved, or you're so many things in the medical space. And even me, I had my own life-death experience giving birth to my last child. And I was totally mishandled. And I had had multiple children, and it was the same OB. And so when I looked at myself, and I had told Black women, that's not my experience. And of course, they're looking at me, I'm light-skinned. Of course, it's not your experience, light-skinned girl. Right? And I'm like, don't discredit me. I'm just saying, I think maybe there's a way, like, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It's more like, how can we make it not exist for ourselves? So at this place, I have an experience, and I used to advocate for them. And I feel like I feel like I turned over people to slaughter people because I didn't realize also, even in my naivety, wanting to trust the doctors, right? When I went to look back from pregnancy 1, I was not listened to because I was younger then. And it was like I didn't know my body. And like, okay, little cute girl, just listen to us. And they miseducated me. They told me not to breastfeed my child. They told me all kinds of weird stuff. Now, when I got to child last and I gave birth, I literally left the hospital with an infection after giving birth. I complained about pain. They told me if I need more morphine, do I need more Dilaudid? Come get a new subscription. I wasn't even taking the Dilaudid because Dilaudid makes you itch. So if nothing doesn't make me know it's fucking heroin, it's right? Yeah, okay. So guys, note to self: they give you medicine and itch. It has some Narcan in it, you know. And I'm not a druggie. I'm not a cokehead. I've never done these things. Like, you know, I'm Jamaican. You know what I do. That's it. We're not going past it. You know. It's not a gateway for me. It's the way. You know. And so I sat there and I said, how does this go? And I literally had a doctor push on my stomach, and what she doesn't know is it's recorded, because I'm a filmmaker. And she pushed on my stomach and she said I was not in pain. And if I was in pain, then I would have hollered. Right before she asked me, did I need more Dilaudid?
That's crazy.
Go home, and if I have an issue, go to the hospital. And this is all coming from, I had an intrusive operation that they had no permission for. It's in my records that they had no permission to do the operation, to give birth to my child. They did all of that. They gave me an extra scar. I've never had a scar when I had children. I've never had a C-section. I had a C-section. I complained about some pain and trauma prior to that would have probably helped me not get into that position. I've never taken an epidural. I've never given them my uterus. In this situation, they got my uterus, my placenta, not my uterus, my placenta, I'm sorry, I used the wrong body part. I've never given my placenta. They have my placenta. They discharged me with an infection. They did a surgery without my permission. They sent me home and told me to get Dilaudid and go to the ER if I was still having issues. And I woke up and it's like God said, Tiff, urgent care. Thank God I have broke friends. Thank God that I don't think the only way through a doctor is a referral. And I said, I'm going to, because I literally went home thinking I'm imagining. Now I'm imagining stuff. Now I'm being like, I'm an artist, right? So I'm already labeled dramatic. I did acting. I used to not stop telling people I'm an actress because they would, is she acting now? No, I'm being human with you and I'm expressive, right? So I was like, oh no, I'm going home with tears in my eyes. I'm like, something's wrong. Like, I know something's wrong, but I feel like they're trying to make me feel like I'm crazy. And I'm such a smart person. And what hit me is if they can make me feel crazy, who can they not make feel crazy? There's so many more girls that I've got to lift up, so many guys that I lift up, so many people that I give life to because they need it, because I know the importance of giving life. And if I'm a giver of life and nobody even knew to lift me up right then how many people have they hurt? And then I got into the reviews, and gotta hate that. Gotta hate reading the human reviews. Might be why they want some AI reviews. Touche, why are you talking about it? Right. Because when you looked at the human reviews, now we realized that there's been a problem at this practice for like the last 10 years, but I'm being flying blind to it because they're just my OB, right? And so I'm looking and I'm like, wait, it looks like they're treating certain type of patient, certain type of way. I mean, they would rush me for being 5 minutes late to an appointment where everyone knows there's a 15-minute grace period. I'm pregnant. I'm rushing down the road. I'm 9 months. Like, what are you bothering me? Like, silly stuff. You know what I mean? And people don't realize the anxiety because the systems, going back to the systems. And so, like, for my mother to be so smart, work in government, work in rebels, work in politics, run things, a consultant for the UN at times. My father was consultant, and Green Beret equivalent of the European Army in Guyana and in Europe. Several degrees. If you look up the Luards, they're always writers. They're always in a government somewhere. They're always military somewhere. It's just very interesting. And some of them are white. I found some of them in London the other day, you know, and they do the Tudor's Castle and they're wood conservation experts, like really great, right? And it's like, if this could happen to me, this could happen to anybody. Like everybody says, I'm light skinned. So if they would do it to a light skinned girl, right? What the hell would they do to my black sister?
Yeah, that's the running thing though. Like, black people don't get treated right medically. Like,
it's always been running. But we think that we have appropriated the industry enough that there's impact on that. Yeah. We think, like you would hope.
Nothing changes.
Right? Nothing changes. And I remember in the 90s when they said they don't want to cure AIDS and cancer because that would cripple the medical industry. The thought of that crippled my brain because it let me know. Like, I've been places, like I was in FEMA, and even FEMA in, New Orleans. I call it FEMA, in New Orleans during Katrina. And the other day it hit me that I was so caught up in being there for my friend that her experience was tantamount and so much more important than mine. Like, my experience didn't matter. But the things I saw, the stuff I witnessed, the realities that opened, the perspectives that shifted that summer from just being present and being let down by what you expect to be, again, that superhero coming to save you, right? So it's like, are we changing and evolving as humans? Yeah, we're changing and evolving because we have these crazy parameters and predicaments that we're imposing on each other in this pressure box, and then expecting, like, remain the same. All things are great. Why can't you remain the same in all these pressures? We've got to look at the pressures and look at the boilers and take them away. Because the one thing that I think is universally true is that we are all here to not be here to be separate. Like, why would God or whoever, why would we continue to make so many of us if we don't need us? Right? So there must be a reason why we're here together. Like, I'm a loner when I want to be. I love to get away. I love to have my time. But at the end of the day, when you're really vibrating and you're resonating and the light's going with somebody in the space, that's an incredible feeling. And we're supposed to come out and give each other light. And so the more we could do that, whether it's art, whether it's, AI, but is it light? Are you excited? Can we be in this cipher together? You know what I mean? And I think that's what art was always about to me, why I chased it, right? And even when we get into, like, okay, we're going to discuss medical apartheid, we need to discuss how do we stop it? Not just discuss, like, fuck up all the trauma ones, right? Like, I know I'm bleeding. You know you're bleeding. Like, we don't need to talk about the bleed. It hurt.
I think you only stop it if we have our own system.
That hasn't worked before. That sounds good, but we've had several Black Wall Streets. A lot of people think it's just in Tulsa. I mean, Durham's a Black Wall Street. Winston-Salem's a Black Wall Street. We had Black communities. They were burnt down. Do we think that all of a sudden nobody's going to get jealous and feel like, and it doesn't have to be color based. Like, forget the colors, because that would be too easy. Okay, rich and poor, they're doing really good up here. I'm struggling. Am I not going to think to go over there and grab some of the stuff?
That's what I'm saying, though. Like,
so how do we balance it? Really becomes not how do we separate and build. How do we actually respect all humans?
That don't happen.
Can it?
No.
I don't know. I'm like, no. Can we go to a compound with people who can? You know what I mean? Like, can we just lock in?
It can't.
Like,
how long have we been, like, it's been the same argument since, as far as history goes back.
But why? Why, Rondell? Like, for real, why? And I know we're both
why.
sitting here
I
like,
know
why?
Why. I know why.
Why? Is it greed?
I can't get into it right now. But
give me an inkling for the viewers, just so I can, like, take it in and go.
It's written that way. You're in Hollywood. This is the script.
Can we rewrite it?
No.
Why?
Because the creator of all things wrote it. How can we change it? It does. It gets fixed at some point.
Okay, it's just not going to get fixed by us. Like, we can only do what we can here. Is how you feel.
Right.
So we can only move towards the light, but we can't accomplish the light while we're here.
Right. Well. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because cause some people get defeated, now they'll just stay in the dark.
No. You're supposed to strive towards the light, but until that time comes, it's gonna be what we've known.
It's gonna be what it is. Yeah. It's gonna be what it is, because it cannot need to go towards light without the existence of the bad, right? So it is the bonus, right?
Right. So we're on the journey, but, like, that whole journey is gonna be BS until we get to.
I'm gonna throw something out I saw on TikTok, and I don't have TikTok. I just be watching my little previews on Instagram. I need to give me a TikTok, right?
It's amazing.
But I don't want them to scan me. They said no. Anyway, originally I didn't get it because I knew they would use it for AI build, and I didn't want nobody to have my robot. I didn't want nobody to have me, Tiffany 2.0. I was trying to hold it back, bro. But right.
I
got room to grow hybrid, sleep evolving. So, but this is what I saw. It said, imagine that Earth is the ghetto. Like Earth is ghetto. Nobody wants to be here. It's ghetto as hell. And the reason we're here is because we're here to serve our fucking punishment, because we did something to end here. Like, we're in the most ghetto galaxy where all we do is treat each other bad. We fuck around each other all day. We all work at a job 9 to 5, whether it's Monday through Friday or 7 days a week or 2 days a week, that we don't particularly love, while we just continue to function, right? Just to continue to function so we can be mean to each other and not light each other's way. Now, understanding what you said, I feel like you guys are on the same, wave in that sense. Now, she had a very, like, comedic, very gross, to it. But I think You know, like maybe Earth is ghetto, but
we
like
can
I would
talk
rather
off camera.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's kind of it's a little comical, like you said, and it's a little spacey. But the root of what she's saying,
well,
100% what I believe.
Okay, so and I've heard, and I'll throw this. I like to throw this out to people, and I love to put it in this space. Is like, so there was a something we listened to with my mother years ago, and it was talking about why there are so many gods, and if there's only one universe creator, why do we call him Allah? Why do we call him Buddha? Why do we call him Jah? Why do we call him God? Why do we call him Jesus? Why there are so many, and why do so many people think that religion is correct? And the answer to that question in that space, and this might need to be cut for us, but the answer that the answer to the cut in that space was that everybody needs a different discipline and has a different work to do. So, like for instance, if you look at Islam, very more disciplined than Christianity, where you're given love and you're given acceptance through sorrow. And they're saying that so like anything that's good and is of good and power and certain things, and that's why I think we have certain things that are similar between certain religions, right? But anything that is good and of certain realm is of that creator, but you needed this way to go. And they say that's why somebody may start as a Muslim, but they convert to Buddha. Or they might start as Buddha and they turn into whatever, but their spirit is still doing the same work. So I thought that's an interesting concept, and it makes it a better way to kind of understand why we're here together. And it's like, if we could get to more of those understandings, I do think we could cohabitate better on this ghetto earth. I feel like here's the trick. Wouldn't it be interesting that if we could just cohabitate better on this ghetto earth, we would all pop off and go wherever we were gonna go? That was great. Could like maybe the algorithm's not fixed. Like maybe that's it. Maybe we need to fix our algorithm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But
maybe AI helps us see that better, and maybe that technology.
I think AI is just.
You don't think algorithms helps you understand people better, understanding what algorithms are now, before we had that word?
Maybe, but I think it's used for evil, though.
Yes, because people do evil.
Because the people that run it.
Right, because of the people who use it. And it's like, I don't think. Yes, it's like, can we make Hitler
It's going to be a downfall, I think, ultimately.
Yeah, I think, but everything is. Like, look at our food. Why are we eating half of the plastic we eat on a regular basis in most of our places?
Some evil person decided.
Somebody decided to corrupt
it wasn't
the
that
food
way in the beginning. So
right, but we also forgot what real food looks like because we were too lazy to go learn.
They took it away from us.
No,
in my mother's generation.
Okay. We're not gonna get into slavery because that doesn't.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, even in her generation.
Right. It wasn't.
They grew. They ate their own food.
Oh yeah. You're saying they were farmers.
So I'm saying is like. Everything that happens is systematic. Like,
but they were farmers, but they farmed on their farm.
Right, but
they did not farm with the technology from China to get the seed from
saying.
China. Like you get what I'm saying? It's not the best innovation on the farm that they actually got to achieve to keep it ongoing. They had a version, right? They got a version of the hybrid, right? So when you're looking at the version of the hybrid, right? Real shit. If they had the best farm to farm on, then they would have been able to pass it on. It would have stayed, like you would lose a little bit or you would grow it. You either lose information or you grow the information. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, so look, another metaphor. The other day, the city said we were taking up the leaves. If I had just been a little bit quicker, a little more empowered, I would have got us a van and we would have went and picked up everybody's leaves. Why would we have done that? Do you think they did that because they were being nice to clean the city? Why did they do that? You know why they do that?
I don't know why they did. I don't know why.
It turns into compost in spring. It turns into compost. They sell it for bags. So if we took the leaves and let's fuck picking them up. If we just told everybody leave the bag on top of their grass until the end of the season, right? Because that's going to create a winter cover, right? Going back to basic farming skills. Now we ain't got to worry about the grass. It ain't going to grow. It ain't going to do nothing. It's going to chill, right? Bag the whole yard and picked up those bags in April. We would have compost. And we would just go take them to somewhere to sell it. How have we got so blind that we can't see the money on the trees beside us?
Our minds is all over the place now. We're not thinking about that type of stuff.
You see what I'm saying? Like, but so what is it? Saturation has distracted us. So we're not actually lost. We're distracted. Which is why I think people are trying to keep us off being balanced and aligned, because now we actually have so many things that I feel like more people could do this. And if we could have more people snap together like this, and all of the snap togethers came over here, then we would snap together a big group too fast. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And therefore they got to keep us separated, because the people who are snapping together, we got to just let that be a revenue growth for right now. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, listen, we'll be talking all day.
Yeah.
I gotta cut it. I got some clients about to come in, but let the people know where they can find you if they want to check you out.
You can find me at Jamaican Duchess on Instagram, Jamaican Bella on Twitter. I don't really use it. I need to get back on. My name is Tiffany Luard. You can find me on IMDb, LinkedIn. What I would really love for you to do on this podcast is, because it should release in winter, we'll be doing I Didn't Know, Maybe You Didn't Either, and I would like for you to follow I Didn't Know, Maybe You Didn't Either. Shit, I gotta do that over. I want you to follow I Didn't Know, Maybe You Didn't Either. IDKMYDE. It's an acronym that we use, and you just put that in and put that in your Instagram and follow it. Find it on your YouTube, find it on your Apple, because what we want to do is get more people with the truth, and we want to expand the curriculum. We want to teach the kids. We want to save the babies. We want to even tell your stories. And one of the things we're going to do this year, God willing, is add a hotline for history. And so we want you to call in and share any history that we've missed, any stories that are in your family, and we'll be going through those and thanking you for your story, highlighting your story, and also continuing that as we go into our season expansion.
That's dope. Well, I appreciate you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Definitely got to have you back, because I feel like we got some other conversations that
we
can probably talk about.
We got some deep conversations.
Yes, we do. We do. And if you guys made it this far, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you in the next episode. Peace.
Check out Rondell. He's fly.
Oh, I appreciate that.